I want to talk about all that I want for Christmas. All I want for Christmas is conservative leaders in black context. All I want for Christmas is the 57 congressional districts, which represent about 34 million black voters, which represent 1,000 majority black cities. I really want conservative leaders to be in those black cities. That's the reason why we are promoting and we're praying and believing God for Ramon Jackson. The city of Detroit has had an advocate for all of these years. He's my political mentor. He runs Souls to the Polls, and he's also a member here at 180 Church. And I tell you, we need men like him. Let me tell you why. Because majority black cities currently are being diluted. Detroit is one of the cities that's experiencing gentrification. Let me explain to you what gentrification is. It's when the resources are distributed in black communities in such a way that causes the same poor black people who those resources should be going to be priced out of that community. Oftentimes people use the term gentrification, specifically race baiters and race hustlers, people that get paid for trying to conquer up racism. I do believe that racist ideas exist, but I don't believe that everybody's a racist. And most race baiters and most race hustlers, but they will use the term of gentrification to denote that white people are actually doing it. But that's not what's taking place. Because when we look at cities like Detroit and other cities, we see that it's black city council members that give developers the resources that should be recycled back into the community of the stakeholders, the taxpayers, the black people. And what happens is this, specifically in a city like Detroit, we have one of the most gentrified districts, District 1, and actually is poised and postured to have a white city council member. Why is that important? Because when black people, when they lose their vote, not only do they lose their voice, but they lose the ability for them to be able to determine their own destiny in terms of representing themselves. That's why it is essential. That's why I am pleading. That's why I'm like John the Baptist crying out, prepare the way for conservative leaders to be on city councils and also to run for mayor in black cities all over America, specifically 1,000 majority black cities. Once that happens, then in 2026, we will be postured, because we are the largest voting bloc, we will be postured to put a conservative leader into our gubernatorial seats. And we know that that trajectory can continue to be sustained as we look at taking people that typically would vote Democrat, teaching them the history of the Republican Party in order for them to make decisions that are in the best interest for themselves. Let me make this very practical. When you have righteous leaders in city council, those righteous leaders will regulate the resources in terms of contracts, in terms of grants, in terms of the Community Investment Act, which comes through banks, in terms of HUD funding, which comes from the federal government to our poor black communities, and in terms of SBA, which is our Small Business Administration. When we have righteous leaders there, yes, those resources come from Washington, but they will be re-regulated appropriately. When we get our state redistributable aid, that aid would be regulated appropriately. And this is very important, when we are able to look at deals that were done in the past that were illicit and illegal, when we have righteous leaders, the Bible says, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. The Bible says that when sin comes into a specific nation, it's a reproach to the people. But the Bible teaches that when we have righteous rulers, the people rejoice. The people in Detroit and the other 1,000 majority black cities, they cannot rejoice right now. Why can't they rejoice? Because we don't have righteous rulers. I believe that God is raising up leaders for such a time as this. Daniel's, Esther's, Mordecai's, leaders that will speak truth to power, like Jesus did to Herod and to Pontius Pilate, like Paul did to King Agrippa, like Daniel did to all the empires that he served in, like Joseph did to Pharaoh. I believe that God is raising up leaders like Nehemiah that are going to build a political wall through spiritual influence so that the people in our poorest black cities in America, they can be able to be protected. Why don't you join me in this endeavor? This is another edition of Politics in the Pulpit. Two things that our community said we should never talk about it. We're talking about it. Join us this Friday, Souls to the Polls. It starts at 6 o'clock right here at 180 Church. God bless you, and may heaven smile upon you.